In fact, one of the routes I've been working on recently starts in Budapest and goes all the way through an old medieval route with churches along the way dedicated to Santiago. So, that's one route all the way into Austria, Switzerland, France. That's one of many routes that come through Europe. It's a vast network, and we've heard of some from Paris. And now the route Francigena from Canterbury, Francigena is not a Camino as such. Although interesting enough, last year was the 700th anniversary of Francis of Assisi. Of Francis walking to Santiago. A lot of people hadn't realized that he actually walked to Santiago back in the medieval period. And indeed, when I was there last year on the 700th anniversary, the Junta put me up in I was giving a presentation there, and they put me up in the beautiful old Franciscan monastery in the city, which is now turned into the most luxurious five-star hotel in Santiago, even more luxurious than the Parador itself. And when I said, "Oh, how lovely," I said, "It's wonderful to think that Pope Francis might come here," because there was talk that he would come on the 7th. He didn't, because he had other things to do. But such a wonderful man. And they said, "Oh no, we've been in touch, and they've said that if he comes to Santiago, he would want to sleep in the shelter for the homeless at the back of the monastery." He's a very fine man. I'm not sure he's going to be able to do what he came to do, but he's certainly trying, I think, very hard, a very compassionate and understanding man. So anyway, there's the flavour of the routes. And before I go off that, I just want to draw again a connection between Australia and Galicia, because you can walk the route here, the Blue Mountain route, get your lovely certificado from the organization that Chris has produced, and if that is stamped on the by here in Glenella, that will entitle you to walk the Camino Inglés from A Coruña, which would not entitle you to apply for Compostela, but does if you have walked sufficient distance in your own country of origin. So it's a lovely thought to think that you can walk, and not just the Blue Mountains group, but you could authenticate other routes, the Aboriginal routes you're talking about, and have those authenticated on a pilgrim passport, a credencial, and then link that walk to the walk to Santiago Cathedral and collect your Compostela. And I love that idea, because what we get when we see that potentiality is that, the Camino de Santiago is not just a sort of distant route that happens to be over there. It's linked in a very real and practical way to your own pilgrim path in your own country of origin. And I love that connection, because it's recognized by the authorities in Santiago as being a legitimate way to pilgrim to the cathedral. So I just put that in there as to encourage you to develop that concept and that idea and that opportunity. So that's Camino as family, Camino, some of the alternative routes. When we come back, but I'm just going to briefly sort of give a flavour, because we've got sort of 15 minutes or so before we maybe take a break and come back to look at the, what you want to specifically discuss this afternoon, either with me or amongst yourselves. It's often said that the wisdom isn't held in any one person, it's held in the collective. So collectively, we have a lot of wisdom and a lot of love here in this room. So remember that. I'm not the only one, I'm the only one mic'd up, but please feel free to come in say what you want to hear and what you want answers to try and find answers for, or comments you want to make. So I've also been talking about the Camino as a path of awakening, and that also assumes or presupposes that we are currently asleep. And I think that that is actually very true and is actually a very dangerous situation. We have literally fallen asleep. And we have to wake up, and we have to wake up urgently. You hear that plea in Greta Thunberg saying, please, please, wake up. Thank you so much. And we must do, it's our duty now to actually wake up. And I mentioned how in my limited Christian upbringing in Ireland, I was a Protestant growing up in Roman Catholic Southern Ireland, and our religion was, we had lovely hymns, but it never took me particularly deep, but it did give me a bit of an appreciation for reading some of the wonderful stories in the Bible. And one of the ones that I love so much, and that has struck me so forcibly, is where it says, it actually says it on several occasions, and a deep sleep fell across Adam. And nowhere in that Bible is there any reference to Adam actually waking up. And we are Adam, and we've fallen asleep. So part of the journey of the Camino de Santiago, part of its gift to us is to give us time with like-minded people to wake up, to give us space to really examine how we have fallen asleep and have fallen into a sort of a consensus reality that needs challenging. We have a very limited view of who we are, and we need to grasp this if we're to deal with the huge issues that confront us right now. And if you don't mind, I would love to read you a piece. I just downloaded it on the Wi-Fi here, and part of it is embedded, but rather like you suddenly, that lovely song that you were singing, it went out of your mind. This one is rather too long for me to remember, so I'm going to read it if I might, because I think it's very beautiful and it deals with the issue. Because it's so hopeful and so positive, and it's by Marianne Williamson, who teaches a lot from teaching, a very deep teaching called A Course in Miracles. And it's often ascribed to Nelson Mandela, who used some of the words in his speech when he was released from imprisonment in South Africa. And this is what it says, and I really think it's very beautiful and worth thinking about. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. There's a lot of truth, I believe, in that. And we need to recognize our own inner magnificence as divine beings. We are spiritual beings on a human journey, not the other way around. We are divine beings. We come from a divine source. That's true for most people, whether we're atheist or whatever religion we come from or whatever religion we have left behind. I like to think we all have the same, exact same spiritual DNA, because that's what links us as family. And that family isn't just the Camino family, we get that sense and that feeling within the Camino family, but we also have to broaden that out. Because actually, if this is true, and it is my experience it's true, we are all pilgrims. Even those of us who forget that most of the time, and even all those in the world who haven't yet recognized the truth of that. We're all on a journey. What else are we doing here? And that leads to the Camino as a path of inquiry. Because again, if we take the time to reflect on our journey, on our life, and we take the space to empty out who we think we are, or who we've come to feel that we are, our sort of story, our drama that we have written for ourselves and that we're playing out in some way. When we step out from that and sort of liberate ourselves from a narrow confines or a definition of who we are by walking a pilgrim route, those big questions are part of what we go to ask. Who am I? Who am I really? Who am I behind the presenting picture of John Brierley, the famous guidebook author, the father of 3 gorgeous children? Who am I really behind all that? Because everything that I've done here, you know, I'm always long way past my 70 years and 10. You know, I've been given this time, but my time left here is brief. And so really what I leave behind, everything, I can't bring any of that with me on my journey, on my pilgrimage, when I let go this physical body. Everything that I am, author, father, all that gets left behind. But what I do take with me is my soul, my spirit, and everything I did in this life to enhance it. The value I bring with me is what I worked on here, on my soul life, not my physical life. I can't bring my title deeds. I own 2 lovely houses in the UK now and another piece of property in Ireland. But I don't think they will be recognized when I cross over into the new land. I don't think they will be recognized at all. So all that gets left behind. So the Camino is a path of inquiry, and also in that, not only who am I, but what did I come to do? What is my purpose here? Why did I incarnate in this life at this particular time? Because I came with a sacred contract. Before I arrived here, I came with a sacred contract. And I don't know whether any of you have read any of Caroline Myss and her work, but she talks about sacred contracts. We all came with a contract, and our task is to find out what that contract is, and then as best as we can to fulfill it. And the Camino gives us the space and the time, away from the busyness and the mindset that we have, to find out what that is. Because that's really important. That's the most important contract we have. That contract and how we fulfilled it, or what we did to meet it, we do bring with us. That is a journey that goes on beyond this particular physical journey that I'm on. So that's the Camino as a path of inquiry.